We have meeting notes here from a leaked secret memo back in April that the Biovaccine Policy Steering Committee, that's, what are you saying? Oh, who is that? It's Pfizer, it's Merck, it's Novavax, et cetera, all these huge pharma companies trying to get together. And they're like, hey, it's time to go to the Hill and lobby for RFK Jr. to go. They said that there's, quote, the Maha movement is a cover for the anti-vaccine campaign, and there are now definitive examples of RFK Jr.'s threats to vaccines and public health. So, guys, why does this matter? Well, of course, they're going to go through and try and protect their profits. There's a lot of lobbying that is happening, and they're calling this right now. They're calling for transparency and testing all of this that RFK is trying to do. They're calling it destabilizing. Well, that's the whole point. We're trying to come in and destabilize everything. We didn't like business as usual.
It's such an excellent vindication of the June 12th reports when it came out that RFK had fired every person on the vaccine steering committee and replaced them. And they said, oh my God, he's firing the experts. Well, I mean, first of all, you have to be stupid to have not paid attention to the last 8 years and not realize that the experts is just code for we'll do everything they can to use unelected power that's been given to them by previous Democrats to undermine President Trump, his secretaries, the administration, and the agenda that the majority of the American people voted for. But two, now here's the evidence. Here's the meeting. Here's the notes. This whole crew of people are completely committed to this. There's so much money. There's not remotely the ethical checks that are put on judges or congressmen or senators or members of the administration to go in and out and take that cash and become extremely wealthy, pushing science that everyone talks about is settled, but basically almost every time I've ever heard that the science is settled, it's not. And this is just another case.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the fact that agency capture is, so if you go to even a lib, textbook for the last 20, 30 years, there'll be a section in it on politics, a political textbook. There'll be a section in it about how we know what happens every time you set up a regulatory agency that's supposed to regulate an industry like the CDC, like FDA, like all the HHS complex, enormous. Like HHS, I mean, there's a lot of money flowing through it, right? Every time you set up a regulatory agency, inevitably, that industry ends up capturing the regulatory process. And this is a grade A case of that, because you have billions and billions of dollars that these companies make, and they have long since taken over the entire regulatory complex that's supposed to regulate them and keep them in check. And so, of course, you're going to have an all-out rebellion when there's billions and billions of dollars at stake, and that's what we see happening. But the good news is that our RFK is very strong on this. So he's not someone who, he's a warrior. He really believes this stuff. That's why people like him. So this battle is on, and it's not over yet by a long shot. There's still tons of bureaucrats in there. But it's a battle that's ongoing and getting messy.
Yeah, they were talking about the investors are going to be sitting on the sidelines for 6 to 9 months, right? They can't have that. But we actually do see some opening questioning now from Donald Trump. Chris, you and I talked about this last week in terms of the COVID vaccine. Donald Trump wrote on a Truth Social post, they are showing me the great numbers and results, but I don't see them to be shown to many others. I want them shown right now to the CDC, the public, to clear up this mess one way or another. I hope Operation Warp Speed was as brilliant as many say it was. If not, we all want to know about it and why. So this is the first time, Chris, that we actually see the president going, wait a minute, are these numbers that you're showing me? Why aren't you showing these to the other people? Why? If this is all on the table, let's lay it out in public.
He's had such blinders on about this. It's unbelievable that he is someone who's as plugged in as Donald Trump is the last person to realize the crowds since 2020, it's been 6 years, have not been cheering a single time for any of his warp speed or vaccine stuff. I mean, I remember hearing from folks who were in his inner circle during his exile from power. And he brought up the vaccines, and someone said, hey, you shouldn't bring that up anymore in public. It's not going well. And he was shocked. Mm-hmm. And then he found out that no one in the room had gotten it. Mm-hmm. And he quit. It floored him. It's the first time he'd ever heard about it. I know he's watching Newsmax. I know he's watching Blaze. I know he's watching Fox and Fox Business. So what do you mean you're not hearing this anywhere? But it's been slow. And last week, reports came out it was the first time yet that some of his donors and some of his aides have been able to get him to admit something's fishy here. Something's not quite right privately. Maybe talk about it a little less. So this truth is a good sign that maybe we're going to start digging into this. And it's a good sign that maybe we're going to be protecting ourselves from this and from the mandates on it in the future.
I mean, this is the one issue in which Trump has been blind, as you say, one major issue, and refuses, right? He's refused to say anything bad about the vax. Whatever.
Absolutely.
Not a
like
single...
to the point where he like brought Woody Johnson up on stage. And he's like, everybody, look at him, clap.
And
we're like,
and
this isn't what we want.
And look, it's just like the one issue where he just absolutely stubbornly refused to say anything negative. And so this is a big deal to me. I mean, here he's saying like, well, they show me these great numbers, but maybe it wasn't brilliant. I sure hope it was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant. Everyone said it was brilliant. So this is a pivot that I think a lot of people didn't think they'd see. And it's a really good thing that he's saying this and thinking these thoughts now, because we might be able to get some more justice for what happened. And it also is, I mean, this is the signature issue for corruption in the medical community. This is like Maha 101. It's really his base agrees with this, that this was a problem. So if he's going to turn on the vax, that's a great thing, and start to question. And it shows above all, always chimp, and that Trump also he's not just calcified in his ways. Like he changes and he pivots and he moves about the cabin in a way where he finds the win, and that's something to remember about him.
It usually is good on that. And like, for example, when he was talking about getting rid of the low-income housing mandates in the suburbs, which, by the way, I grew up in some of those areas. Every liberal mom and dad agrees with it. But when he says it out loud, everyone got really uncomfortable. The conservatives, the Democrats, whoa, we're not allowed to talk about that. But this is a tribute also to a testament to RFK's staying power and his influence, because he's the real person who's changed in here. Trump's inner circle has been anti-vaccine since 2020. He's the person who's changed. At the beginning of the week last week, we were talking about how he was going to come into trouble when he had leaked the story that the vaccine was on the chopping block in the future, because that was President Donald Trump's baby. That was that was something that he was not going to change on. This could be a threat to RFK. And 1 week later, board notes that vindicate his firing of the steering committee have come out, and President Trump is tweeting, maybe it wasn't all they say it was.